This is Bringing the Darkness to the Light with Catherine Nadal, professional psychic medium.
Today's guest is Too Hot for Leather. I will be speaking directly with Kevin, who's the drummer. Too Hot for Leather is a dynamic rock band hailing from Nashville, blending the raw energy of classic rock with modern influences to create a sound that is as electrifying as unique. Known for their high-octane performances, the band captures the essence of 70s and 80s rock with powerful vocals, soaring guitar solos, and a rebellious spirit. Drawing from influences like Paramore, Guns N' Roses, Muse, Too Hot for Leather has earned a reputation in Nashville's thriving music scene. Formed by a group of seasoned musicians who share a passion for rock's golden era, the band's chemistry on stage is undeniable. Their live shows are a spectacular, tight musicianship, flashy stage presence, and a pure rock and roll attitude. With a growing fan base and a commitment to keep the heart of rock alive, Too Hot for Leather is making waves beyond Nashville, captivating audiences wherever they play. It's a pleasure to have you on, Kevin.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm very excited, actually, because I realized that you're going to be playing at NAMM, and I'm going to be attending NAMM, so I'm going to actually get to see you play live. Tell me more about that.
About NAMM or our live show? Both?
Both. It's very exciting. First of all, this is my first NAMM attendance. I'm going to be there on a media pass. And I have a lot of friends that are musicians that are going to be there, but they offer a lot of cool classes, and it's just a really great opportunity to get involved, especially as a social media influencer. So tell me about your experience and how you got involved with NAMM.
I think all four of us, this will be our first time going to NAMM as a band and then individually as well. I've never been. So it'll be a eye-opening kind of just new experience for all of us. We applied to be a performer. You know, they have a application process so you can go to and submit your band, submit your music. They have those open spots as showcases, and we happened to nab one of them, and it was really cool to know that someone out there thought we were worth putting on the stage. That means a lot to us. We're so excited to be playing in California, you know, for pretty much the first time. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Wow, yeah, it's very interesting because I had another guest on, CK Smile from Colostrum, and they actually had played NAMM, and they also played Whiskey A Go-Go. He was talking during the interview, and he felt like after they played that, it really like brought them to like a different level. So that's exciting for you. You know, there's so many people just wandering around NAMM. You never know who's going to hear you, you know, so that's super cool. When will you be playing at NAMM? Do you know what your schedule is going to be like? Did they inform you?
Yeah, we play on January 20th. That's a Tuesday, kind of first couple of nights of that week. We're playing at 9 p.m. at the Hilton stage, the conference hotel. So we'll be finishing out, I think it's right before the after party or is that after the after party is getting started kind of thing. 9 p.m. Tuesday, January 20th.
Well, I'm definitely putting you on my calendar because I want to see you guys live. I've been really looking at a lot of your work. First of all, I'm really excited to know that you all kind of hail from the Nashville area. I have family in that area. I have a cousin, Tommy Del Rossi, who's a well-known drummer. He's a session player, actually, in Nashville. And he's always talking about the magic of Nashville and what goes on there, which is really cool. I started to listen to your music, and I was really blown away. I was like, wow, this is really great. And I started sending it to some of my friends, and they were like, who? Like, they hadn't heard of you yet. And I was like, yeah, just wait. You know, this is just the beginning.
Yeah, it's funny when I hear you folks talk about hearing our songs for the first time. And for us, the songs, of course, have been around for years. In a lot of cases, you know, I've been working on songs for 3-4 years until they're out. It just takes time to produce them and to market them. So it's always so fun getting to hear of a new group of people hearing it for the first time. And it's just good to know that it's still reaching new people. You know, even though we're working on new music and we know it's, you know, for us, we're always like, okay, on to the next thing. But it's a good reminder that, you know, music doesn't go away.
Yeah, it's so true. Tell me about Too Hot for Leather. How did you all kind of create the band together? Where did the members come from? How did you all meet?
We all moved to Nashville but we're all from different places, right? So I'm from Michigan, Shannon's from upstate New York, Ryan's from Northern Kentucky, John's from Outer Banks. So we didn't meet before Nashville. We all met as professional musicians, which I think gave us a unique kind of career trajectory because we got involved with each other as business partners first before we became friends. And we became friends as we realized that we were all like really into this stuff. So we bonded over making a band and making a business. We started playing on the Broadway circuit, Lower Broadway in Nashville. So we started off as, playing the cover circuit, making our living and saving money and all that. And then one day just decided to write a song just to see, hey, let's just give it a try. You guys want to try writing a song and see if anything comes of it. And we ended up writing My Dearest Darkest that day. And that was 2022. It's been like this just slow building process to put it all together and kind of get it up and rolling. But, that song was the first one we wrote together. And we just kind of realized we had to do something with it. We couldn't let that go.
Wow. Well, I love that song. We're going to actually drop that song in during this conversation. But it's interesting to me that you said that you all come from a different place. How did you actually meet up? Did you meet up in Nashville? Is that where the common factor came about?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we all met in Nashville. Ryan moved in 2016, and then the other three of us moved, 2020 or 2021 around that time. And it was one of those things where, Ryan had a gig booked and he needed a drummer, and I happened to respond to his call. And I ended up playing with him, liked it enough. We're just like, hey, you want to just keep doing this? Let's just not keep looking for another musician. Let's play together. And then Shannon was the same thing. She had moved and was looking for work, and we needed a singer for what we were trying to do. So it didn't make sense to go looking for someone else if we have found someone who's good. We all got into each other's spheres before we got busy. And then similar thing with John. It was just like he was working with another band in town, and we loved playing with him. Asked him to join if he was willing. And by that point, we had kind of already formed the business. Shannon, Ryan, and I already started writing some songs, and we didn't have a bass player. And we wanted someone who was going to be willing to jump in and cover parts of the business as well and move the business forward. He's done that in so many ways. It's been a perfect fit. So it was piece by piece, one by one.
Wow, it's such a cool experience. So when you say send it out, were you on social media? How did you connect? Because it's such a new world now.
Yeah, it was social media, and in Nashville you can, there's groups on Facebook that are built specifically for finding musicians to hire for lower Broadway gigs, for cover gigs, because there's so many of them. And a lot of times you'll have someone back out kind of last second because something came up or they got sick or they got stuck in traffic on the way in. And that social media account allows for you to just put up a post, say, hey, I need somebody this time, this venue, this is the base pay, how much the bar is paying us. And then we get tips after that. Here's kind of a general vibe of the music we're going to be playing. Who wants to do it? And they'll comment section until someone pops up. And I happened to do that with Ryan. And I got lucky because my high school friend had just gotten done filming a music video for him. So he had his phone number. So I didn't get lost in the Facebook shuffle. I got to text Ryan personally and tell him, hey, Adam sent me and told me to text you because he thinks I'd be good for your gig. If you need someone, still let me know. And thankfully, no one else had called him yet. So I was able to slip past the Facebook filter, where you just get 10, 15, 20 comments of people that you don't necessarily know. It was a lucky thing, There's always, I think there's always a modicum of luck in all of these things.
Absolutely. But I also think that certain things are meant to be, Mm-hmm. So before you got to Nashville, being a drummer, how did your trajectory start out for you in deciding to become a drummer? Some guys pick up the guitar first and then they end up going to drums. Some guys are just drums and go to guitar. What was it like for you? Were you, a young child doing this, or you were doing it when you got older? What's your story?
My parents started me on piano lessons at 4 years old. I was doing music things early. It wasn't like I picked it up later. I was just kind of in it from day one, basically. Had a family piano at the house, all that stuff. Music was always playing, road trips and car rides and stuff. We start off life traveling a lot with I did want to be a drummer first. That was the first thing I wanted to be as a kid, was be a drummer. But of course, piano lessons first is probably the best way to go about it. You learn so much in piano. They wanted me to be in the elementary school band for 1 year. to make sure that I was actually serious about it before they actually bought me a drum set and started, making noise in the house. So I did the elementary school band for 1 year and was like, nope, I want to play drums. I want to do it. And I kind of had my head was set on that. Piano lessons were first, but I always wanted to be a drummer. That was my number one thing. So piano was kind of the gateway to that.
That's great. What were your early drummer references? Who were your idols in the drum world?
First two records I think I ever played as a kid were the Beatles' Past Masters Volume 2 collection that they had released. So that was like Day Tripper on to Let It Be. And then also like all these quirky B-sides like Rain and Ballad of John and Yoko and You Know My Name, Look Up the Number and like all this weird stuff, right? So Ringo Starr, probably the first drummer I ever heard as a kid. The first two that I remember ever hearing as a kid was Queen's Greatest Hits, Roger Taylor. His drums just kind of jump out of the speakers at you, the way they produce their music. It's the most live sounding drum sound of the 70s, that era of rock. And it just sounds larger than life. And for me as a kid, of course, you're hearing that and it's just, you can't help but get sucked into that. And the production of everything is so big. So those are the first two drummers I ever heard in my life. My first idol was probably Neil Peart. I would say Neil Peart was my first idol in terms of drumming. I want to do what he does.
Wow, those are excellent choices. Yeah. I want to circle back to writing your first song with the group because My Dearest Darkest is really, it's really such an attractive song because it blends kind of the excitement of music, but also the feeling of mystery with it. So tell me how that became like your first song as a group.
I don't think I have a super in-depth answer for that, unfortunately, because it kind of just happened. And that's something we always try to lock into when we're writing new stuff is not overthinking it too much. I think that might be the way I look at it, is how it happened. It really came together in about 2 hours, just in a room, in front of a desk, plugged in the instruments, just threw some stuff in and said, man, that's a song. That's wild. That's crazy. We just did that, and we just let it go wherever it was going to go. Like if there's a time signature change, it's like, fine, put it in there, make it work. If it's feeling good, make it work. Don't veer away from it because it's a time signature change. And you can't do that in rock and roll anymore. It's like, no, you do whatever you want to. You just got to make it work. You got to make it sound cool. I think that to us is our biggest testament of like when we don't overthink things, we usually put our best foot forward.
What about the songwriting for the lyrics? Because it's definitely, in all of your songs, there's definitely kind of a trend with the lyrics. So tell me about that. There's like a storytelling vibe in all of your lyrics.
Yeah, and we've worked on we have a new EP coming out this next year, and we worked really hard on narrowing in on the stories we're telling. Those first 6 songs, they're not collected as an EP on our streaming services, but to us, it's our first EP, and so I'll refer to it as that. But the first EP was very, again, not overthinking things a lot, right? And just kind of letting, even if the lyrics don't. If you read the lyrics off the page and they don't necessarily tell you a specific story, they're going to tell an emotional story, right? And emotional stories are sometimes even more effective for rock and roll because they fit into the big, loud, flashy production. Country music is about specific storytelling, having a very specific, familiar approach. Rock and roll can get a little esoteric and it still makes sense. And it's sometimes cooler because of that. It's sometimes better to leave things up to the audience. And so we were very into the kind of like, hey, we have this idea, but we're going to leave a little bit for our audience to think about because I don't think any of us in the band like getting spoon-fed entertainment or art. So I'll speak for myself just because I'm here. I don't like getting spoon-fed stuff. I like things that make me think and make me put my own story to things. I think that's where most of the magic happens. So for that song, it's amorphous, but it's really, it's about finding your own story, right? And knowing that at the end of the day, you're the one writing your story. No one else is doing it for you, regardless of how hard it is.
Yes, it's interesting because in just that particular song for me, as it starts out, I almost feel like it's referencing like a relationship. It doesn't feel very solo. It feels kind of reflective of a relationship. So that's why I like it, that you don't have it nailed down to have any sort of permanent meaning for anyone, because everyone can have their own kind of story to it. We're going to play My Dearest Darkest right now.
Dearest darkest came in a dream, tattooed on my mind and memory. All that's left behind is you.
I'm so glad that we were able to play that song because I really love that. I really didn't realize that that was one of your first songs that you put together.
The first song, yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing, especially since it's groundbreaking because you weren't even sure that you were going to stay together as a band. So it's almost like this song kind of saved the band in some way.
Yeah, and it's funny. I wouldn't necessarily saved us, but it's like it proved to us that we had something more than just the day job to do. You know, we had a mission bigger than that. it made it so that like all of us were like, no, we have a responsibility now. We gotta try this. So
Absolutely, yeah.
magical moment.
What was the second song that came right after My Dearest Darkest?
Mess with Me is, I believe, the next one. Mess with Me would be the next one.
Okay, and how did that song come about? Because you said that the first song came about within 2 hours. Was the second song just as fast, or?
Not quite that fast, but it wasn't like a months long slog or anything like that. I think the nice thing too is because it was the first time we had song written together, so I think we all had ideas that we just hadn't used for anything. We were all just sitting on ideas that we didn't know what to do with until we met each other. So, once you start writing and you start kind of depleting the bank, it starts taking longer to write stuff because you're having to come up with things in real time. Whereas this was like, I've got all these ideas that we've been sitting on, but we like to retreat from Nashville a lot of times when we're coming up with like foundational ideas for songs and for projects. Each time we've gotten together and said, okay, what are we going to do for the next collection? What are we going to do for our next project? We rent a cabin out in like Sevierville or Gatlinburg in the Smokies. And we go out there for about 3 nights and we drink wine and we sit in a hot tub at night when we're done working and we talk. We talk freely without the distraction of business and work and responsibility around the house and chores and all that stuff. We get ourselves away and we're able to talk freely about things amongst the 4 of us and plan and dream. And it allows us to dream big because we're not tethered to the concrete of just daily monotony. I think every artist needs to do that to a certain degree. That's the benefit you get for not living the life everybody else is doing, is you get to live in the clouds periodically here and there. Right. You get to live that world. And I think you owe it to yourself. And so we owe it to ourselves to get ourselves out to a place where we're surrounded by nature. It's quiet. We cook for each other. We live a very egalitarian kind of, community type thing where each night somebody else cooks, makes breakfast or lunch or whatever. And we all get together and we say, what do we want to say? What do we want our next record to sound like? We don't want it to sound exactly the same as the last record because that's not interesting. You know what I mean? That's not fair to our listeners. Right? Because if our listeners are pouring attention and money into us, buying our merchandise, coming to see our shows, streaming our music, we owe it to them to make sure that we're always growing and progressing and giving something new and interesting and exploring, right? So it gives us a chance to do that.
That's amazing. It's really very admirable because a lot of bands come up, like you said, they come up with their own ideas. They sit in a room and they hash them out. But you're actually kind of departing from that and clearing your space, clearing your heads and getting into another space. Has there been, in going to another location, has there been anything that influenced the songs to change because you were in another space?
Yeah, and it's maybe not even it's not like as outwardly noticeable as like Led Zeppelin going to Bronny or, where they suddenly they had like half their records a folk record. It's not necessarily like that, but what it helps us do a lot of times is it helps us hone in on what it is we're trying to say. The noise of the city and the noise of everyday life makes it tough to figure out what it is you're trying to say. I think that's the biggest thing. I think Surrender to the Flame was probably honestly, I think that one was maybe the biggest. You can hear the influence of like us being in the woods in a cabin. It feels like Halloween in a song, right? It feels like a seance, that kind of thing. In terms of, can you hear the environment in the songs? Not necessarily, but you can definitely hear that our heads are clear. They're clearer than if we were writing them in a studio on the clock, or we were here in this room, which is in Nashville, right down the road from where we work. I got to clean the house tomorrow. I got to make dinner. I got to go shopping, all that stuff. But you can hear our heads are a little clearer, for sure.
So tell me about the song Mess With Me, because we're going to play it.
Yeah.
Tell me kind of the vibe of that and what the listener's expectations can get, maybe a little bit about the lyrics, because it is much different than My Dearest Darkest.
It is. And it's a little more pointed, it's talking to somebody, right? And I don't even think necessarily we had somebody in mind, But I think we've all been through that where it's like, hey man, I'm trying here. You don't want to give it back to me. I'm moving on, dude. Like I've got better things to do with my time. It's saying that in an empowering way. It's saying that in a way for, the listener can feel confident in wanting the best for themselves. And if someone didn't give it to them, it's like, all right, see you later.
Very self-promotional, right?
Very much so. You got to do that sometimes.
Absolutely. So we're going to play Mess With Me now.
Missed calls and messages at 2 a.m. You keep me waiting. Every time I reach out for you, you're gone again. I'm still here waiting. I've tried too many times to rewrite you in my mind, but I think it's clear to see. You've got a love, but it ain't for me. Do yourself a favor and leave me, babe. You broke my heart and you robbed it clean. So don't come crying to me. You ought to know. You ought to know. You don't wanna mess with me. Falling on your knees, you beg for what you just can't have. I'll keep you waiting. I've done enough shit on my own to ever take you back. I'm through with waiting. You feed me every line, but no matter what you try, it's all just noise to me. You've got a love, but it ain't for me. Do yourself a favor and leave me, babe. You broke my heart and you robbed it clean. So don't come crying to me. You ought to know. You ought to know. You don't wanna mess with me. See, I went blind, lost myself to your darker side, and it's all a lie. I've gotta keep telling myself at night, 'cause I've tried so many times to rewrite you in my mind, and now I know it's clear to see. You've got a love, but it ain't for me. Do yourself a favor and leave me, babe. You broke my heart and you robbed it clean. So don't come crying to me. For you've got a love, but it ain't for me. Do yourself a favor and fucking leave. I'll break your heart and I'll rob you clean. So don't come crying to me. You ought to know. You ought to know. You ought to know. You don't wanna mess with me.
Wow. Your body of work to me is so interesting because it's different. What in your mind brings you to another band that you could say, this is really kind of where we're kind of stemming from?
Aside from, the ones that you mentioned in the introduction, those bands are obviously direct influence. Paramore, with Shannon's vocals, she listened to them as a kid growing up, and obviously you hear it with Ryan's guitar playing. Like Slash was his idol, that's his number one guy. He's got the sound, but it's not Slash. It's him. It's still Ryan. And I think that's like we were very much into sounds on this first record, getting experimental and getting into sounds and stuff like that, which we really enjoyed. Like, I love the drum sound of Trey Cool, American Idiot era, that just big, huge, just smashed drum sound. And, with this next record that we're working on, we took an approach of like, cool, okay, we love that sound. We've experimented with some sounds, but we're going to really hone in on like, let's make sure we're writing really good songs. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like, for me, it's like the Eagles is one. The Eagles, I don't think wrote a bad song ever. Every single song they wrote is just wonderful. It's structurally sound, topically interesting, moody, whatever mood they're trying to create, they create it. We're into bands that can write good songs. And that could be anybody from any period. Guns N' Roses, Appetite for Destruction, Green Day, American Idiot, The Resistance, Second Law, Paramore, Riot, the Cranberries, everyone's doing it, so why can't we? Styx, is any Paradise Theater, or Kill Rose Here, those, they're just wonderful songs. It doesn't matter what they sound like. They're great songs. So
Absolutely. And it's so interesting because all of those bands that you named are all equally good. Eagles and Styx, for me, those are two great examples of what I, as a listener, say, I have memories. I hear one song and I go right to a memory. And the memory is of my life. That song is playing in the background of my memory of what I was doing in my life. And when you capture that for people, that's why these songs are around, 50 years later. And that's why these bands are still able to tour 30, 40, 50 years later, because it's the memories that are associated with these songs for people to say, the band was there during my breakup, or the band was there, during my wedding or something. It's pretty amazing what music does for people.
You hear people say like, that song got me through blank, that band got me through, and they hold up signs at shows. They're telling the singers that stuff. And it's like, yeah, I think all four of us have songs, records, bands that got us through things, and like, it's funny for me when I listen to music in my downtime, I listen to a lot of like indie folk songwriting, singer-songwriter stuff, like the modern, like Bon Iver, Justin Vernon type stuff, The National, and I'm into that because they create they're very good at creating a mood. And it got me through a lot of things, at points in my life. And so it's not hard rock, which is what I want to write and perform. But in my daytime of listening, it's like you can draw so many things from so many places because it's going to stick with you. And I love that you said that whole, because that's the commerce we work in as a band. If we're talking business, it's, you can't quantify what we do. We don't create products. We don't build cars. We don't refine oil. We don't go to court, right? We don't provide these services. We provide emotional context for people's lives. That's what our jobs are. So we have to make sure that we're doing that if we want to be a viable, sustainable thing. And I'm glad you said that. That's so important.
Yeah, but it's so real. And that's what I think the music is all about. You have another song called Show Me What You Got. What is that about? Because all of these songs are similar, but so different. And it's interesting because usually when I hear Show Me What You Got, I feel like, oh, the challenge is on, like... So
sort of, yeah.
So let's hear about that song.
That was another one I think that Ryan brought in that rhythm, that da 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 da, and the pieces, the riff pieces. He had written those at one point and was like, "Hey, this would be really cool. This is a really cool song." So we said, "All right, let's take that. That's our bedrock for this." It started again where we didn't think about it too much. At that point, we're just kind of like get it down, get it on paper, and then take it into the studio, and we'll figure it out there. And that one started as kind of it was very similar to Mess With Me in the way that it was combative, and it was almost like Mortal Kombat in a song. It was about like get up and fight, like kind of like Muse, The Resistance, or some of their newer stuff, which is very just purely fight songs. Muse is almost writing fight songs these days, right? And it was very inspired by that. And then we took it into our producer. He was reviewing the lyrics with us, going through lyric revision. And he was like, "Man, I don't know what this is about." And it's like, it's okay in certain situations to not know what it's about. But if it's like, I can't put any context to this, I don't even have a personal one I can apply to, that's not a good thing, because then no one's going to really relate to it. So he was kind of like, go back and figure it out, go back and write something else, or rewrite some stuff. And what it turned into was, hey, okay, maybe it's not a like fist fight kind of thing, but it's like with as few words as I can say, a lovemaking song, basically. It's it's imploring, it's the opposite of Mess With Me, where you're trying to get somebody to come into the door versus kicking them out of the door. And so it was one of those things where it's like, went back into those little pre-choruses before the chant, the "What are you waiting for?" and rewrote those as like, hey, I'm ready for you. Get over here. Let's go. And then it's like, hey guys, I think it's a sex song now. And so we said, okay, go back and let's rewrite the verses. And we took it back to the producer. He's like, okay, no, that's about something. Now I know what you're saying in a way that I can understand and relate. Let's go with that. That has power. So that's what it is. It's about imploring someone to get in the door. Like, what are you waiting for?
So show me what you got. We'll bring them through the door. Okay.
That's the idea. Yeah. Yep.
Very good. So we're going to play that song now.
What are you waiting for? Go ahead and take your shots. I know you're wanting more. So show me what you've got. You're standing here wondering if the feeling is right. You got to know you're running out of time. I'm giving you the chance to take me for a ride. So don't make me wait another night. Say it once, you better say it twice. Get it out before it eats you up inside. You won't know if you don't even try. What are you waiting for? Go ahead and take your shots. I know you're wanting more. So show me what you've got. Come closer now, I promise, baby, I don't bite. This tension's got me going out of my mind. Stop playing games, 'cause I win every single time. And I'm getting what I want tonight. Have you ever had to stand and deliver? I'll make you sweat in ways you can't deny. I see the fire burning deep inside your eyes. And you keep telling me you don't play nice. What are you waiting for? Go ahead and take your shots. I know you're wanting more. So show me what you've got. Now you've got to take a stand. Say it once, you better say it twice. The night won't start until you turn on the lights. You say we'll have the night of our lives. What are you waiting for? Go ahead and take a shot. I know you wanted more. Show me.
I want to just take this opportunity for you to individually mention all of the members of the band, by name, by instrument, that whole thing.
Shannon Spurl is our lead singer, the rock goddess herself. Ryan Snyder's our lead guitar, all things stringed instruments. John Blackstock is the bassist, the god of thunder. He rumbles the stage like no one else can. And I'm Kevin Keith. I'm the drummer. We all sing in the band. We all sing backup or co-lead in some situations. We all like to jump into that. We have fun doing that.
So the songwriting and the lyric writing is all a group effort. Is that correct?
Yep.
Oh, wow. That's great. And I know you had mentioned that you have keyboard in your background. How many of the songs have you been able to kind of develop using the keyboard, or maybe want to do more with your keyboard, maybe live?
We're incorporating that into the show. We are incorporating that into our live shows on the tour we have coming up. We're going to have a segment where we play a couple of songs that we wrote at the piano that are piano-centric. So we're kind of trying to expand the sound palette a little bit. Our song Never Again, that was written at the piano as well. That's obviously a piano-centric song. Our friend Jason played the piano on that song. But we have a couple of songs on our new record that have rock piano, in the backing arrangement. And we have a ballad that we wrote that Shannon actually brought to us. And we found a way to incorporate it into our sound. And it's a very piano-centric song. So we're in that. We're working on that for sure.
That is so great. I know when you go back, I go back in my mind and I think all of the great bands like Styx always had that. Van Halen even had that. I mean, there were so many that you would see it pop up here and there, but it is not common, so to bring that in as an influence, that would be great. I have a couple of other questions before we end this great interview. Other than doing NAMM, which you're going to be playing at 9 o'clock at the Hilton in Anaheim on January 20th, other than that, what will be your public appearances?
Okay, yeah. And this coming year, we have our first leg of our we call it our superhero tour. You'll understand why next year. But it's we're starting that tour on January 22nd, and we have a date in Louisville that Thursday night. We have a date in Columbus, Ohio that Friday, down in the Cincinnati region in Covington, Kentucky on that Saturday, Cleveland that Sunday. So we're doing some weekend run shows. That next week we'll be down in the Southeast in Charlotte, the Villages, Florida, Atlanta, and Birmingham. So we'll have 4 shows that weekend as well. So we are starting to piece together legs of the show. We're starting to branch out of our just immediate region of Tennessee and Kentucky, and we're starting to branch out into some other spots. We're going to be up in the north. We're actually going to be up in the Northeast this summer. We're working on kind of filling out our summer dates around that since we'll be in the region. So hopefully we're going to be in New York soon. We have a booking agent that's working with us on that. So we've got some friends. We've got some musician friends up there who play as well. So we're hoping to get some shows together with them in the city, upstate. On our website, toohotforleather.com, you can find all of our tour dates. We always keep that up to date, bands in town, et cetera, et cetera.
Wow, very exciting. Yes, you'll have to keep me posted on the Northeast leg of this tour because that would be really great. I have one other question, which you may hear very often from people. How did you select the name Too Hot for Leather? Where did that come from?
It was kind of a joke at first, and I think like a lot of things are, it starts as a joke or starts as something like, even just songwriting together for the first time was kind of just let's see what happens, who knows? And you just don't, we'll give it a shot. But this is back when we first started regularly playing together, me, Ryan, and Shannon, before we even met John, actually. Late 2021, we had just all met, just all started playing together, started getting regular work in Nashville on the Broadway circuit. And we had another bassist who filled in with us occasionally, also named John. So we just swapped Johns for a career. And we all showed up. It was the first time we were making money in a long time because gigs just didn't happen through 2020 and 2021. We all moved here. We were able to work. We start making money again, making a living like we had never really seen before. So we all bought leather jackets. We thought we were so cool. We all had leather on. We're going to come downtown. We're in leather. We're all going to look the same. And so I had never had one before. I got a leather jacket, and Shannon had one. Right. And then John, our bass player at that time, also had one. So we all showed up to this bar for our morning shift. Believe it or not, we were playing at 11 a.m. on a weekday in November 2021. And it was cold. So we were all our jackets up, all bundled up. And we're thinking, okay, they're going to have the windows open. They're going to try to get people in. So it's going to be freezing in here. But they didn't. They had the windows closed and the sun was coming in the window. And so it was like 85 degrees on the stage, even though it was like 40 outside. You know, it was like a 40-degree difference coming in. And so we all started off and we were sweating like pigs. So at one point, you know, a couple songs in, we're just like, you know, okay, time to take the jackets off. It's too hot. And, you know, and our bass player, John, you know, got on the mic and said, he's like, yeah, man, it's like almost too hot for leather in here. We had been trying to figure a band name out. I think we all just kind of looked at each other. Someone got on our talkback mic into just our headphones and was like, you know what? That's not a bad band name, actually. Even Shannon or Ryan, you know, said that. And it's just like, yeah, let's just roll with that. We need a band name. Let's just roll with it. We'll figure it out. And so it started as a party name, as a party band kind of thing. But then we realized that there was all this context that we could use it for and all this branding that we could use it for. And we couldn't think of anything better. So it stuck. And then, you know, people started saying it back to us over time. And we're like, man, that really rolls off the tongue really well for being so many words. So it's like, you know what? Keep it, logo, this, brand it, put it on everything. Yeah, it's funny how things happen, you know?
Wow, that's very cool. Yep. That is very cool. So just plug your social media so everyone can start following you and checking out your locations.
Yeah, we're on Facebook. Our handle is Too Hot for Leather. Same thing on Instagram. Our handle is Too Hot for Leather. Same thing on TikTok. We have a YouTube channel as well where we post our music videos or we do recaps or behind the scenes things. We're really starting to ramp up showing you guys our work processes. And you can, same thing, handle is Too Hot for Leather on YouTube. Our logo's out there, you know, our faces and logos on everything. We're on, you know, Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, Tidal, all that stuff too for the digital streaming stuff. And we're here on WNEW as well and BBS.
BBS Radio, yes.
BBS Radio. Excellent. We're on BBS Radio as well. We're there too.
Very good. Very good. Well, I look forward to meeting you in NAMM and seeing you play live. Thank you again for doing the interview. We're going to roll out with your hit song, Surrender to the Flame. Thank you again, Kevin, from Too Hot for Leather.
Sleeping Beauty, waking from a dream. Moonlight shining, darkness rising from the deep. Feel myself falling. Secrets are calling out to me.
You have been listening to Bringing the Darkness to the Light with Catherine Nadal, professional psychic medium, Dream Central Station, LLC. My audio editor is Al Hemberger at the Loft Recording Studios in Bronxville, New York. This is WNEW 102.7 FM radio.